Yo, what's up, people? Happy Monday bank holiday evening. I only said Sunday, and so that's how kind of messed up my time perception is. Hopefully, my internet will hold out. Just going to do a quick video on the lineup for Thursday's game of, oh my God, like we can't even, don't want to think too much about it because, it's best not to. Basically, this is a game that Arsenal should be in because they have like the strength and the power and the pace to outplay this Villarreal team. It should not be a contest. I mean, if you think about what happened last Thursday, we played terrible and we still managed to come away with a 2-1. So, look, in that respect, it's kind of encouraging because if we play even 10% better than we played on Thursday, just with a bit more of just with a bit more confidence, and that's easier said than done, obviously, because this is a massive football is a massively confidence-based game, but this team is a massive confidence team. You can see the difference it makes when Arsenal go 1-0 up. It's a completely way more fluid team, and it's just so disappointing that they can't do that from the very start. But be that as it may, we did beat Newcastle, even though that was a dead game, and we didn't really get out of second gear. Despite I've been watching quite a few streams today about the Newcastle game, and people really bigging us up, and I guess people are trying to be positive, and I'm not trying to be negative, but this wasn't some amazing, awesome performance by us on Sunday. It was just that Newcastle were fucking terrible, and we were okay. I mean, people saying El Neni was man of the match. I mean, he got a goal, which the keeper should have saved. I mean, but most of his game was just passing it with his usual stuff, like safe and secure. He's not. Well, anyway, I don't really understand. I mean, the positives were that Oba got a goal, so that goals breed confidence in strikers, and he got 72 minutes under his belt. People were a bit worried that he came out afterwards and he said that he was absolutely exhausted in the last 5 minutes, and they were like, "Oh, people are saying." I've watched streams online today. People saying, "Oh, this is really worrying." So, well, how is that worrying? I mean, like, he's just had malaria. I really did not expect him to play more than 60 minutes. He's played 72 minutes. That's 12 minutes longer than you would really typically expect a player coming back from that to play. And he's saying he's exhausted in his last 5 minutes. Well, yeah, sure, he would be. So if we can get a good 60, 70 minutes out of him against Villarreal, with him bagging against Newcastle, I think that stands us in good stead. So with this in mind, I've kind of put together my lineup, which I don't think Arteta will pick, but a lot of it is based around pace, and a nice balance of pace and skill. Because I mean, a lot of the time with the Premier League and these days, everything's about pace merchants. So I don't want to be like, oh yeah, well, you just have to be fast and athletic, and that's all that you need really to be successful. You still need to be techie. So I've kind of borne that in mind. So what I would do is goalkeeper would be Leno, of course. I say of course because he did have a good game against Villarreal, and there's no real reason to drop him now in the second leg. So it has to be Leno. So, but the more interesting stuff is really around the defence. So I've stuck Cedric back at right back, and I think that Chambers and Gabriel look really good. Well, I say really good. They looked pretty solid against Newcastle. They didn't really have so much to deal with, but what they did well, and it's with Luis being injured. I think it's a preferable combination to Holding and Gabriel, which is just kind of all over the place every time they play. I haven't even looked at. I should look at the stats for that when they play together. I mean, how many games do we actually win? Probably not many. But then at left back, I would have Bukayo Saka, and I think this makes a lot of sense because the pace of Chukwueze, the Villarreal winger, Xhaka, Saka, this is going to get a little bit tricky, but Xhaka in the previous leg, he grew into the game, let's be fair. But if Chukwueze is a bit more ruthless and takes it to let's say Xhaka started at left back. If Chukwueze was just a bit more ruthless and took it to Xhaka a bit more, and Villarreal fed him the ball a bit more to get into those spaces in behind and to turn him man, we know how slowly Xhaka turns, the goddamn freighter. So, look, it's better to have someone pacier in there like Saka. And also, Saka's not as, he's not as rash. I mean, if they were to target that area, which I think would be a good attacking tactic for Unai Emery to employ, then there's chances that Xhaka's getting a yellow, might be getting a red. You know what our record is like this season. You saw him; he could have been sent off against Newcastle. It could have been our 10th red card of the season. It's kind of crazy because he's like such a prick, man. Honestly, not only for doing a deliberate shoulder barge when knowing you're on a yellow card, but then I don't know if anybody saw this, but the camera then panned to him after the tackle, if you want to call it, and he's just laughing. And he's just kind of laughing about it. I mean, I don't understand this sort of approach. This is just like indicative of all the things. One of the things that's indicative of so many things that are wrong with the club at the moment. Anyway, Bukayo Saka should be at left back, and one of the reasons for this, not only his defensive prowess, would be to also link up with the man in front of him, Martinelli. So we'll get onto the midfield now. Xhaka, I would move into his usual position alongside Partey. And then on the right wing, I would have Pepe, and on the left wing, I would have Martinelli. It's a kind of difficult one because you want to play Pepe on the left if you're going to play him, and it feels sort of like you're shoehorning him in a little bit to play him on the right-hand side. He's arguably less effective, but he is our top goal scorer in the Europa League, and that does in football, in the kind of theatrical football narrative of things, that does count for something. So, and obviously Martinelli was probably, I mean, I guess you could say he was man of the match for Arsenal against Newcastle. He looked sharp, and he's kind of the closest thing we've got to Alexis Sanchez. Now, I'm not saying that he's at Alexis levels now, but just his general style of play and that kind of shuffling lower center of gravity, making things happen by being a real tricky bastard, and just the relentless perseverance and energy that he brings to the team. And you can see that he links with Oba well. You can see that Oba kind of like sort of trusts him as a quality player to deliver the kind of passes that he needs and to get the sort of penetration that he needs. So Martinelli has to start on the left, and then you've got Saka behind him. Now that's kind of that's a worry. If I'm Villarreal, that's a worrying pair on the left, and then you've got Cedric and Pepe on the right, who have linked up well this season when they have played. They have linked up better than Bellerin links with Pepe. So I think this is kind of a no-brainer. Do I think it's going to happen? No, he's not going to do this. I'm going to sip my Stella in a glass via a can. He's not going to do this. In essence, this video is almost kind of pointless because, you know, if it'd be some kind of minor miracle if Arteta was to pick out this 11. I mean, look, we can still beat Villarreal. I mean, even if he put Xhaka at left back and maybe stick Saka on the right, Martinelli or Pepe on the left, something like this, we still should have enough to beat Villarreal. We saw that in the first leg. Villarreal played okay. We were terrible, and we still came away with a 2-1. So it's kind of encouraging in a weird way. And then, so completing the lineup, I would have Aubameyang up front, and then ESR in the in the number 10 role. I don't think Odegaard should start. I don't think he's really done enough to start in this game. I think that's kind of why he probably started against Newcastle as well, and Smith Rowe didn't. So I expect to see Smith Rowe in there behind Aubameyang. I think they have good link-up play. Him, Martinelli, Aubameyang. That's an interesting kind of triad going forward. So I don't know, man. It's going to be a tricky one. I don't see him doing this, but I just think that it's more secure to have Saka on the left at the left back because he's just pacier. He's more athletic than Xhaka. It just really seems to be a no-brainer. But whether Arteta is actually going to do it or not, I don't know. Couple of things also I wanted to touch upon before I go. I just seen the thing about Leno. Apparently Leno, I don't know if I actually should look this up to clarify exactly what's happening, but just before I came on live, I saw that something about Leno being sold. Let me just have a quick look just to double check this, because it's a bizarre situation, isn't it? I think I don't know if this is just bullshit though. What are we today? I can't find the quote, but basically, before I came on, there was a few different football streams, Arsenal-related football streams, and general football streams that were talking about Leno leaving, or Leno kind of wanting to leave, which is ridiculous because obviously we picked him basically over Martinez, and if we are to sell him, that basically is us admitting defeat in the goalkeeper realm. So we should have picked Emi. It seemed pretty obvious. He commands his box better. He's a bigger goalkeeper. He's as equal a shot stopper, but he also has the other added attributes of like commanding his defense a lot better and being better with kicking. And it doesn't mean that Leno is a bad goalkeeper. It's just that Martinez is a really, really good goalkeeper, and Leno is just a good goalkeeper. I mean, this all said, obviously in the first leg against Villarreal, it was Leno's saves that kept us in the game. I mean, if it wasn't for his saves, we would have been out. Well, we would have been facing having to win by 3 or 4 goals to stand a chance of getting through. So at the top level, these differences are kind of like more slight and incremental. And so whilst Leno can, on his day, is a very good goalkeeper, Martinez on his days a very, very good goalkeeper. It's a few percentage difference. There's not that much difference, but it obviously looks like we made the wrong decision back in was it January? I can't remember, but yeah, when we sold Martinez over to Villa. So, like a lot of people suspected, unfortunately. But what do we know? Yeah, okay. So that is it. I'm looking forward to tomorrow's game as well, which is Man City PSG. Man, that game last week on. I think it was Wednesday because they swapped the days, don't they? I think that game was just. It was like, this is what it used to be like. I remember this. I remember it being involving Arsenal and having games like this where the actual skill level and the passing and the moves and everything was just the liquid football, the proper partridge liquid football. And then we've got kind of like nowadays we've got Denis Ceballos or bloody Mohamed El Neni refusing to play a through ball to Lacazette and instead playing it back to Rob Holding. God almighty, it's craziness. But yeah, it should be a really good game. I think PSG has still got a very good chance of going through. I know it obviously looks like Man City and they are in the driving seat, but the way that PSG played, especially in that first half an hour, I mean, you wouldn't put it past them to go a couple of goals up. I mean, how unlikely is it for PSG to get 2 goals at Man City? It's not a crazy thing to think. So I think it's still all to play for. In the other one as well, but I still have this horrible feeling that Chelsea are going to get through. I don't think Real Madrid have really got the legs. They haven't really got the. Again, this goes back to something that I said before about teams. Whilst La Liga, for example, is maybe technically better than the Premier League in some ways, the La Liga teams really struggle with the intensity and the pace and the power of Premier League teams. And if these Premier League teams can keep that, keep playing to that intensity for most of the game, then they would usually win. I mean, Liverpool should have gone through against Real Madrid. They should have won like 3-0 at Anfield, but they couldn't stick away their chances because, I mean, their front line is just terrible this season. I don't think, hasn't Mane's not scored. I'm going to probably get this wrong, but I think Mane's not scored in like 12 games or something like this. But yeah, Liverpool really should have gone through, even though they didn't play that well. But Real Madrid couldn't handle the intensity of the movement of Liverpool, so they got lucky to get through. And it's going to be a similar story against Chelsea, especially if Chelsea don't play Werner up front. And if you're a German base fan, Timo Werner, Wilkinson, same person. Never seen them in a room together. Never will, because it's the same person. Unbelievable likeness. If you don't know who that is, go Google image Wilkinson, German bass producer, and then look at Werner, and it's basically the same person. I mean, Wilkinson stroke Werner, it's a W. They're both W's as well. I mean, it's like these guys are, this guy, I think it's one person, is actually, God knows, like raking it in from his two jobs. But anyway, enough of that. If Werner doesn't play, that gives Chelsea even more chance, because obviously Werner at the moment is awful in terms of goal scoring. Could get the odd assist, but look, they need another goal scorer in there. So we are at 15 minutes. Hit a like, hit subscribe. I'm going to wrap it up here. I will be doing a video tomorrow on something. I'm not too sure yet. But yeah, those are my thoughts on the starting lineup. I mean, it like I said, it's an absolute no-brainer to play Saka in there at left back. But I think that Arteta is just gonna. There's so much reliance on Saka that Arteta is just going to feel like he's just too compelled to put him in an attacking position. Whereas at the end of the day, if Saka isn't in, let's say Saka was injured, for example, if Saka was injured and we had Tierney at left back, and we had Martinelli fit, we had Oba fit, we had Laka fit, we had Odegaard fit, we had Emil Smith Rowe fit, we had Pepe fit, we wouldn't be unduly concerned. I mean, we would be like, oh fuck, it'd be good to have Saka in there, but we've got all these other players, so it's not that different. And he can link up with Martinelli. We know he can do a job at left back, and he can that link up with Martinelli. I mean, I hope they practice this, because the potential there is look, I don't need to tell you. There's awesome potential there. Like, they're fucking fireworks from those two. Those two are most energetic, hardest working, along with Smith Rowe players and Lacko players. So, man. But of course, now we're going to see Xhaka, and then we're probably going to see Pat. Oh, that was the other thing, right? So, with Ceballos being suspended, if Xhaka goes into left back, that means that they're probably going to have to play. We're probably going to have to play El Neni with Partey, or we're going to have to do something weird in the midfield where, I don't know. Am I missing someone out here? No, it would have to be El Neni with Partey, because there could be no Ceballos. And then really you're struggling. I mean, what do? Do you drop Odegaard back in there? Not really. So, because Xhaka has to go left back. So that really screws us for midfield options. I don't see a midfield combination of Partey and El Neni being particularly incisive and being particularly creative. You need to have some kind of thrust in that midfield, and El Neni does not give you thrust. I know he got the goal at the weekend, but it's few and far between. First Premier League goal, actually. So you need to have somebody in there who's just got a little bit more thrust, and Xhaka is the only option. Like, ideally we would have somebody else, but this guy is the only option for that role that we have at the moment. We can't chuck Aziz in there. It's just the wrong time. So it has to be Xhaka. Anyway, we shall see what happens. I will be back talking tomorrow. All things football, all things Arsenal, and maybe some other stuff. We shall see. We'll see how this news develops about the Leno situation, because I don't know. It's just like breaking news. I'm not too sure exactly what's happening with it. But like I say, it would just sort of represent admitting defeat, because it's just like, we picked you. We picked you out of like Leno and Martinez. We picked you, and now you're going to go only a few months later. So it kind of makes no sense. But actually, it does make a lot of sense, because this is Arsenal, and this is exactly the type of thing that we do. Enjoy the rest of your evening, guys. I shall see you tomorrow. Peace.